Remember, he said, the thoughts I have towards you are of good, not of evil, but to bring you to an expected end. Those thoughts he has towards you, how is he going to tell you? But if you do not hear God, how can you listen? Hello friend, and welcome to Crystal Corner with Juddy, where I share my personal thoughts based on biblical principles. On today's episode, we will be discussing hearing from God. I'm going to start this discussion by sharing with us my thoughts when I watched this movie again, Avatar. It's one of the movies I really do love because of some hidden insights, from the movie. So, but I'm going to draw our attention to when Neytiri first saw Jake Sully. Now, Neytiri was on a tree, and she saw Jake Sully wandering in the forest. To her, this is an enemy. The sky people are enemies. They are no good people. So she was ready to shoot him. She had positioned her arrow, ready to release it, and to kill him. And then this creature, that silver creature, one of it perched on her arrow, and immediately it landed on her arrow. She lowered her arrow. She understood it was Ewa. Ewa is the deity that the Navi people consider as God or see as God. She knew it was Ewa telling her, don't kill him. She was able to recognize that Ewa said, don't kill him, and she lowered her arrow. So she left, but she didn't just stop there. She knew that if Ewa had said, don't kill him, that means she has to make sure he's safe. Because he was wandering in the forest. Definitely, if she didn't kill him, the animals in the forest would kill Jake. So she looked around, and when the animals of the forest came to attack Jake and they were going to kill him, she came to his rescue and saved him. She felt she had done what Ewa wanted, so it was time for Jake to go back. And so she was chasing him, back to your people, go back, go back. So Ewa had to come again to make her know that no, I'm not done. And this time around, that flying creature came, and there were many of them. They were on his hand, on Jake's hands, the head, the face, the body. Jake didn't understand what they were, so he was even chasing them away. And Neytiri kept saying, no, don't. And and Jake was wondering, but Neytiri stood there in awe of what was happening. And she knew there was more to this. It was a sign from Ewa. She didn't understand what it was. And then that was when she took Jake to her village so that the Saik, her mother, who is the priestess, could interpret what Ewa really wanted them to do with Jake. And the rest is history. Now imagine if Neytiri did not understand how Ewa speaks. She would have killed the man who was supposed to save her and her people from their enemies. And she would have killed the man who eventually became her husband. She would have killed her future husband. Now bring it back home. God speaks to us. I mean, if he says he's mindful of us, if he says he desires to fellowship with us, because the original blueprint is that God was supposed to be fellowshipping with humans, just as in the Garden of Eden. In the eve of the night, he would come down and fellowship with Adam. So it's the same way God expects to fellowship with us. Now, what is fellowshipping? Fellowshipping is not a communication, one-way communication. It's a two-way communication, meaning the other party speaks, the other party hears, and then the other party speaks, and the other party hears. So there should be communication. Now, the questions that people ask, does God really speak? Oh, yes, he does. But the problem that we have is that many of us have not built a very strong and intimate relationship with God to the point that we can recognize the pattern with which God speaks to us. God speaks in diverse ways. Some people have heard God speak to them by studying their Bible. Some have heard God speak to them when they were praying. Some have heard God speak to them during a fast. But if you do not hear God, how can you listen? And how will you even talk? Remember the story of young Samuel in the Bible. God called him 3 times while he was sleeping. For those 3 times, Samuel thought that his master, prophet Eli, was the one calling him. And for those 3 times, he ran to his master. Master, you called, I'm here. It was the 3rd time that Eli knew that, it is God calling this young boy. And he told him, go, when he calls again, tell him, speak, dear Lord, for thy servant listens. And then when God called again, and God told him the things he was going to do in Israel. Meaning that for the 3 times God called him and he could not recognize God's voice, God didn't say anything to him. So you need to be able to hear God's voice before you can listen to what he's saying. Imagine if you were walking on the road and your mother was calling you out. Because you did not recognize your mother's voice or you don't know your mother's voice, you continue walking. But because you know your mother's voice, immediately your mother calls her, Deborah, and you recognize, oh, that's my mother calling, and you turn around to look. She will come close and then she will tell you, oh, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And that's the same way with God. He has been calling out quite a number of times. He has been calling out so many of us, but we do not hear, we do not understand, we do not recognize his voice. And I would say this. When God speaks to us, he reveals to us mysteries. He shares with us mysteries, things that will happen. I mean, why would people say, well, I don't really want to hear, but do I really need God speaking to me? I have my pastor, I have my prophet. Why? So unless you run to your prophet or you run to your pastor, you will not hear God speak. But his intention is that he speaks to all of his children. Now, even if you're not mindful of what you're hearing from God, what about just knowing what God has in mind for you? What God has in store for you? Remember, he said the thoughts I have towards you are of good, not of evil, but to bring you to an expected end. Those thoughts he has towards you, how is he going to tell you? How will you know those thoughts God has towards you if you will not hear him out? They are thoughts. And he said they are of peace, they are of good, not of evil, but to bring you to an expected end. Are you not curious to know what the thoughts God has towards you? Are you not curious to hear him say in specific and clear terms, Father, what do you want of me? What do you want me to do? Because the most beautiful thing that could happen to the life of a believer is to walk within the will of God for his or her life. But how would you know God's will for your life if you don't spend time with him to hear him speak to you? If you don't recognize his voice? Do you see how important it is to hear God? He will share with you mysteries. I remember before my mother died, few days, in fact, like a day before my mother died, God showed me in a vision how my mother was going to die. And I kid you not, exactly as he showed it in that vision, that was exactly how it played out that my mother died. He already showed that to me before it even happened. So it is so important and very, very key that you know how God speaks to you, that you recognize his voice, and you listen to him when he gives instructions. Otherwise, you will just wander through life. And it is not his desire that that will be your portion. So if there is one thing you will pray today, and you will be very mindful of it, pay attention and be very serious about it, is to say, Father, speak to me in the language that I will understand. In clear terms so I can understand you. Be intentional in building an intimate relationship with God. Spend time with him in prayers. Spend time with him studying the word. He will speak. He speaks. He loves to speak to his children. He loves to tell us. He says, I will share with you mysteries. I will share with you mysteries. Alright, it's my earnest desire that these words find expressions in your heart. Keep serving God intentionally, and I'll see you on the other side of victory. Daalu.